everybody, and thank you so much for joining this quick chat with me. Today, I have a very special guest that I'd like to introduce to you guys. And Celeste, welcome to the chat.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you about 2026.
Absolutely, and Happy New Year to you. And I still remember our last time we collaborated. Maybe it was for my Oracle deck, right? And that
Yes,
was probably a
your
year ago.
amazing Oracle deck.
Uh,
I
well,
absolutely love it.
Thank you.
The
Thank you so
mythic
much.
heroes.
Yeah. So Celeste, could you please maybe just tell us about yourself so that, all our followers, get to know who you are and, yeah, what you do and your journey. Yeah.
So, hi everyone. I'm Celeste Brooks of Astrology by Celeste. I'm an astrologer, a coach, a teacher, and I am host the Celestial Insights podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And I am an intuitive. And one of my favorite things to do is help people understand astrology through the lens of seeing how it connects with everyday life, like the news. So I often
Mm,
correlate news events as above, as below
mm.
to what's going on astrologically. My business is Astrology by Celeste. You can find me at that handle everywhere on the socials, and astrologybyceleste.com is my website. My
Mm.
background is I have over 25 years in corporate sales, marketing, and business development experience. And I retired early to pursue my passion and purpose to be an astrologer. So I am in love with astrology. Made, sometimes
That's
I've made a nuisance of myself with it,
yeah.
but it is just, it lights me up.
Awesome. Yeah. I think, one thing that you mentioned earlier, very interesting, is that you said, you will connect the news that you watch, right? The so-called happening right now, the global events with astrology. And I really, really like that. Because, we follow each other on Instagram, and sometimes the stories that you post are news. And so, for example, some kind of, I don't know, somewhere is bombed, or the government leader, made a decision about something, or maybe like a natural disaster, earthquake, tsunami, and things like that. And I always remember that you will connect that with the transit, right, of the planet, or maybe it's a Mercury retrograde, or maybe stationary, and things like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about, how you, do this, and what makes you feel this is like this is something that is important in astrology?
Yes, because I think it helps bring astrology to
Mm.
life. And I am, I have like a little bit of a detective within me. So I have Mercury in my natal chart trine Pluto
Ah,
in my third house. So I
okay.
am a natural born detective. My bachelor's degree is in
Yeah,
science in
yeah.
biology. But
Uh,
anyway, I'm like, when I see something astrologically coming, especially if there are multiple transits on the same day, I'm
uh,
like, how is this going to show up in the collective? And in my mind, I'll bring up some things to
yeah,
what is this going to mean? And one of the things recently I was wondering how it was going to show up was the full moon in Cancer, which was the first full moon of 2026. And the moon was at 13 degrees of Cancer, which
yeah.
is the same degree as the USA sun. And the
Mm,
sun rules the identity and the leader of a country.
yep. Mm,
And the United States, the sun is has a eighth house influence. In Placid, it's in the seventh house, but Cancer rules the eighth house. Anyway, so the moon, transiting moon, was conjunct the USA sun. So I'm like, why are we looking at the president of the United States, or why are so many people looking
yeah,
there? And then
yeah.
the sun was at 13 degrees of Capricorn, and on one side was Venus at 12, and on the other side was Mars. So I'm like,
Mars, yeah.
what
Mm,
does this mean?
yeah.
How is this going to show up? And how did it show up? The United States did this mission where they
Mission, yeah.
ran and
Mm,
grabbed Nicolas Maduro, the leader from the leader from
Venezuela, right? Yeah, yeah,
Venezuela.
yeah, yeah.
Venezuela
Yeah, yeah.
arrested him, kidnapped him, whatever you want to call it,
Ah,
and brought him back to the U.S. Not just him,
mm,
him and his wife, and I think maybe even his son.
mm, mm,
So
mm.
that brought, and the excuse is for oil, which is Venus rules resources.
Yeah,
It was Mars, like an attack,
yeah, yeah,
and the son, literally a son figure was taken who was the
yeah,
head of a government, Capricorn. So you
yeah,
will
yeah,
see with astrology, you can keep peeling the layers and seeing more and more how the story is laid out in your own life as well
yeah,
as
yeah.
on the world
With the
stage.
stage, yeah, yeah, yeah. I always, encourage people to really watch news. Right? Sometimes, people think that astrology is all about, for example, when am I gonna find love, or when am I gonna get a promotion, right? But at the end of the day, I really agree with you on that. In that aspect, I think astrology is really about looking at the history and looking at the future and understanding the relationship between what's happening here and what's happening and above. And the more we look at those news and events, right, on the world stage, the more we realize that, we all just live under this energy, and everything
Yeah.
works so synchronized together. The other
And
thing, yeah, mm,
make another point before we move on.
yeah,
In 1990,
uh,
a similar event happened with Noriega from Panama, where the U.S. went and took him. Back then, Saturn and Neptune were conjunct in Capricorn.
oh
That was
wow,
36 years ago, and every 36 years, Saturn and Neptune meet. They're meeting again, this time in Aries next month. And what
mhm,
has happened? It's the
crazy,
synchronicity of
yeah, yeah,
taking a leader, accusing him of narco terrorism, all of
yeah,
this,
yeah,
Western hemisphere stuff. So when you realize these cycles repeat and repeat, they rhyme. It's not necessarily the same exact thing,
yeah.
but it just is, it's like,
Mind
what's going
blowing. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Speaking of, Neptune and Saturn conjunction, right? And I believe that this is going to be, well, definitely a major theme, right, for this year, but also, moving forward, right? I mean, Neptune is going to spend roughly, I don't know, 14 years probably in Aries, and Saturn is going to be the next 2 years. So at least I would say this year, next year, specifically for Aries, they're going to be really feeling the energy of this Saturn Neptune conjunction. What is your uh, uh, opinion, right? Or what is your um, feeling about this conjunction? And why is it so significant for all of us?
Yeah, so Saturn and Neptune are meeting at 0 degrees of Aries in the first sign and the first degree
Mm,
of the zodiac. And Aries is new beginnings,
yeah.
and it also rules things like independence, conflict, it's pioneering, but Saturn rules structures and Neptune dissolves them. And we've been
Mm,
seeing things happen since they've gotten close to each other. And they were close to each other in Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac.
mm,
So there's this really magnified theme as they're moving closely together since last year about structures we thought we could depend on,
mm,
organizations,
mm,
institutions,
mm, mm.
authority dissolving, going away, like the deception being revealed around
Yeah.
things. So it has been really
Mm,
psychologically
yeah.
very intense. Like when the United States launched this trade war and just like threw the whole world into upheaval, that was very reminiscent of this, like being an American. Canada used to be our best friend. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's It's just wild
Yeah,
watching this happen,
yeah,
seeing it visually. The president of the United States is tearing down parts of the White House. So we're
yeah,
seeing it
mm,
literally as
mm,
well as metaphorically. And
yeah,
it's very destabilizing.
mm, mm.
And it's Aries rules war. So there is this concern about conflict. And we
Conflict. Yeah,
start the year off with this conflict where the president is threatening Greenland. And now Europe is saying, if you go for it, we're gonna defend Greenland.
yeah,
So, are we going to be in a war before we get to Saturn,
yeah.
Neptune, and Aries? I hope not. But
Mm, mm.
will NATO survive this? It's going to be really.
Yeah,
It, mm,
I feel like because
it's, NATO is a Saturn type institution that's
yeah,
kept
yeah.
world the world relatively peaceful for
Mm,
80
mm.
plus years.
Absolutely, yeah. When I'm seeing like Saturn in Aries, right? I mean, of course, Aries is not just the so-called leadership, but also well, like what you said, it is military. Right? That's Aries, is war, and Saturn is a little bit like a karmic lesson there. So I definitely am expecting some kind of for humanity, basically a karmic lesson through the concept of war, or through the idea of fighting over something. And this is not just happening in the US, even in Asia, the tension between China and Taiwan, right? I mean, every day they are, doing something, shooting some kind of missiles into the ocean, around Taiwan, see what's your reaction. And of course, our government has been looking at, Taiwan's territory for a long time. And so I think it's definitely going to happen, in Asia as well, even though how do I describe this? Yeah, I mean, I live in Hong Kong. Yeah, we're not that far away from Taiwan, actually. If you fly from Hong Kong to Taiwan, is 1 hour and 30 minutes flight. It's not close. And so every day I'm praying, to be honest. Like, God, what's gonna happen the next 2 years? This Saturn Neptune in Aries. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it may happen. I mean, we're having a solar eclipse
Mm,
on February 17th at
mm,
28 degrees of Aquarius, which
mm, mm.
rules technology, and it's squaring Uranus and Taurus, which rules resources. Taurus and Uranus upheaval.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Taiwan is where all of these computer chips are
Made.
manufactured.
Yeah, yeah.
And February 17th, that happens. 3 days later, Saturn, Neptune, and Aries. I don't know if it's going to be then or
Yeah.
later in the
Mm.
year, but some astrologers are predicting
Yeah, yeah.
that war is going to start
Uh,
very soon.
So speaking of that, right, the new moon in Aquarius, actually this year is quite special because that day actually is a Chinese New Year. So so in Chinese astrology, that's the first day we count as the first, like January the 1st, like in the Western calendar. And that day actually is a new moon in Aquarius, which doesn't happen very often because well, sorry, not new moon Aquarius, but actually that's a solar eclipse. Yeah,
Hmm.
and that doesn't happen very often actually. So I definitely feel that this year something is going to be quite intense for a lot of us, especially uh yeah. Even when we talk about the year of the fire horse this year, actually every 60 years there is a year of the fire horse in the Chinese astrology, and every
Oh, yes,
time
please explain this.
yeah, every time there's something really crazy happening. Like, for example, the last time we had the year fire horse was 1966, and that was during the starting point of the Cultural Revolution in China. Right. And I don't know how much Westerners know about the Cultural Revolution back then. It was a very, very chaotic period of time, and millions of people died because of political persecution. And the well, I don't know if I should say that, but it was definitely a very, very volatile time. And the entire Chinese society changed. And that lasted for about 10 years, actually, the full numerological cycle, from number zero to number nine. And the 6 years before that, it was 1906, the year of the fire horse. And that's when the Chinese government signed a treaty with eight Western powers that was not well, not really the Chinese government, but the Qing government, yeah, the
Mhm.
old government of China, and they signed a treaty with eight Western powers to well compensate money and cut a part of our land and give to them and things like that. So and then also that was a trigger of the so-called the revolution happened at that time. And so then Qing dynasty ended and then started the Republic of China, which is actually the current Taiwanese government back then. So the fire forward energy is actually quite intense. It brings a lot of changes. And I think that really depends on how we utilize this energy. I kind of curious and looking forward to see how this energy is going to pan out this year. And like what you said, right, some astrologers predicted maybe there's going to be some conflict and war happening this year. And I wouldn't 100% disagree with that, even
There's
from the
definitely going to
Chinese.
be revolutions. And it's so interesting that you said
Mm.
60 years ago, there was the Cultural Revolution in China. And like, well, they're trying to have a cultural revolution in the US, but it started last year, I guess. But that's
Wow.
really,
Yeah.
really interesting. What was last year's? It was a snake, right?
The wood snake. Yeah.
Okay.
Last year was the
And
wood
then
snake. Yeah. So,
And tell me more about the fire horse.
hmm,
What, how does a horse show up? I mean, it sounds fast moving,
hmm,
dynamic,
yeah,
yang
yeah.
energy. What do you
Correct.
think?
Yeah. So the fire horse, the reason why we call it fire horse, because there are two things we're looking at. One is the element of the horse, which is fire, and the other one
Mhm.
is the Chinese animal sign, the horse, right? It is because in Chinese I Ching studies, we're dividing the energy of the year into two different well columns, right? On top, we have the heavenly stem, and that consists with of five different elements. So the fire, the water, the metal, and the earth, and also the earth. And those five sacred elements in teaching studies. And on the earthly branch, we have got one of the 12 zodiac animal signs, right? So this year, 2026, well, not yet actually, because we're officially entering the year of the fire horse actually on February the 4th. So oh, by the way, this is a huge misconception by a lot of people. If you were born in January, you fall into the previous animal sign, not the new sign.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So fire horse energy sometimes can be quite intense because horse energy itself already carries fire. So when we look at the 12 zodiac signs, they are divided into five groups. And snake and horse, both of them are they belong to fire. And it's a little bit like, the Western Australia, right? You say Leo is a fire sign, something like that. Yeah. So a horse and snake are both fire. But then the heavenly stem comes with fire energy as well this year. So we got double fire. Now,
Mhm.
we don't know how that is because a little bit far is nice, right? It's passion, enthusiasm. It's a sudden spark of a brilliant idea, right? That inspirational moment. It's like a light bulb.
Mhm.
But too much fire is a little bit like a forest fire. And so there's a reason why when we look at the year of the fire horse, we have to really balance that energy. And it's very interesting because just about a month before, I think it happened maybe last month, December,
Mhm.
did you hear about the news? The seven buildings were burnt down in Hong Kong.
I did hear that. Yes, that was horrible.
Horrible, yeah. 200 something people died trapped in that
Mhm.
building, and it was just completely burnt down the seven buildings. You can imagine how big the fire was. And when I was watching that news, I was thinking, well, this is what I mean by too much fire energy in there.
Mhm.
And I think on January the 1st, a bar in Switzerland, also, right?
That Mercury and Sagittarius squaring Neptune
Neptune. It,
in bar.
yeah,
Neptune and Pisces,
Pisces, yeah,
Mercury and
alcohol.
Sagittarius, these handheld sparkler things
Yeah, yeah.
caused the fire.
Oh,
Mhm.
interesting the symbolism, right? How
Yeah,
fascinating the symbol. Yeah.
I go straight to that symbolism with everything. And
Beautiful.
in Hong Kong, also, I think that was when Mars, I can't remember exactly, but it might have been when Mars was squaring Neptune.
Could be, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So, when I was watching these kind of things, I just realized that, this year, I think we really need to calm down. Like, there's a lot of things that we have to we have to review instead of just kind of like spurring the horse and hoping to drive faster and faster and faster. I mean, at the end of the day, we know that horses can be dangerous too. We want to ride them forward, but you will never let a small child standing right next to behind the horse because the horse can kick, right? It can be
Yeah,
quite detrimental. So I think this year, 2026, is about moving forward, having the courage, right, to move forward, but we also have to pace ourselves. Otherwise, it gets too fiery. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see it feels very parallel with the
Mm,
Saturn and Neptune
yeah.
in Aries.
Aries. Yeah.
Mhm.
So Aries is also fire. So
Yes,
yeah, just a lot of that. Yeah. So is there
it's
any, sorry.
yeah, it's going to be a very fiery year because then Jupiter will go into Leo on June
Yeah.
29th. So,
Ah, I was gonna actually ask you, okay, so having talked about all these, lessons and disasters, can we share something positive, all right? Something that we can all look forward to, with everyone, or what can we utilize this year better? And so it's funny that you just mentioned Jupiter, right? So tell us about that. Yeah.
yeah, so Jupiter, you could always look forward to Jupiter.
Ah,
Jupiter and Venus are always doing something. And these are the benefics
mm,
Venus, the lesser benefic, and Jupiter, the greater benefic, which provides abundance. And Jupiter in Leo is an expansion. Jupiter is expansive, uh, joy, celebratory energy, but it also can be pride, arrogance, and ego.
mm,
Like
mm,
everything has a high road and a low road,
yeah.
but there's going to be people like, what are we going to be celebrating?
Mm, mm,
I know there's a few things that some people would be really looking forward to as Jupiter goes into the sign of
yeah.
Leo. But
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see what happens. But
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is a time to think about, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
what like Saturn and Neptune coming together.
Mm,
Saturn's reality and Neptune's a dream. This can be making your dreams a reality with this. There are going to be all kinds of, I see Neptune and Aries as mythic heroes
mm,
rising
yeah.
that people are like really inspired by to and when Jupiter goes into Leo, we may be seeing some of more of them as well. But the risk is letting your ego get too out of control
Yeah.
because eventually Jupiter and the South Node are going to run into each other because the
Yeah.
South Node is going to enter Leo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a drain. So
Yeah. Again,
this year
balance,
could be the
right?
best year of some people's lives. I mean, there is going to be a lot
Yeah.
of chaos and
Yeah.
upheaval, but I also think there may be revolutions where
Mm,
people
mm,
throw off the chains
mm,
of
mm.
oppression. Like in Iran, people are rising up against their government.
Parliament, yeah, yeah, just happened recently. Yeah, I find it really interesting because, yeah, like what you said, Jupiter and South Node are coming together in Leo. So they kind of like, okay, what do we do? Jupiter is saying, oh, well, the expansion is there, but the South Node is saying that if you do it too much, and we're gonna make it a drain for you, right? And so and so I think this is very much in line with that fire horse energy, right? You can move forward, right? Horse is about fast speed, forward momentum, but you can't go too fast. Otherwise, you might fall off the horse, right? Being trampled by it. I think this year it's a kind of like a karmic test, not just for each one of us. I think we're gonna see a lot of the world leaders go through that as well, right? Because the Aries is the leaders, Leo's leaders, right? The king.
Yeah, it's
So
the
yes,
kings. It's not a great time for people who think they are a king
king. Yeah,
to
yeah,
be acting out of their ego with
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Because yeah,
yeah,
there may be some leaders sitting
yeah.
stage left. Yeah,
100%.
hopefully better ones coming on the scene. Like we have an exciting thing in the US. We'll see how it happens
Yeah, yeah.
with Mondani. I don't know if you've heard about the New York mayor.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
been a big thing here
Oh,
that he's really saying he's going to be a man of the people. So we'll see
uh,
how it works out if he's able to make big changes
yeah, yeah,
against corrupt corporations and landlords and help everyday people have
yeah,
a
yeah.
more um, fairness in their everyday lives. So
Oh,
we'll see. He's
100%. Yeah,
Libra, I think.
yeah, yeah. But
Mhm.
you're on the West Coast, right? Do you live in you
I'm
live on
on
the
the
West?
West Coast, but I'm
Yeah,
from
okay.
New Jersey, which is
I see. I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's why.
And I
Well,
follow the politics, so
as
I
you,
keep I keep
yeah.
up on it.
As you remember when I visited New York last time, it was, oh my God, it was like over 10 years ago. Um, yeah, because I really feel like, in the past, a lot of us, people from Asia, we were trying to move to New York. We think New York is, so amazing. But then but these days, when we visit New York, a lot of us are feeling, for example, the subway system in New York really needs an improvement. Like if you, visit Asia, like in Shanghai, Hong Kong, or Tokyo, you look at our train system, it's fabulous, clean and fast and on time, and everything is so in order. And then when we look at New York subway, we think, okay, oh, there's rats. You know what I mean? So we
Yeah.
really think,
Well,
mm,
this is part of the Saturn and Neptune in
yeah,
Aries because it's meeting at the IC, which is the lowest point of the US chart.
yeah, yeah,
And not only to people around the world, but the illusion of what America is like
mm,
fading away
yeah,
because like I noticed that when I remember going to Europe for the first time and
uh,
being like the tube in London was
yeah, yeah,
fabulous
yeah, yeah,
and just the metro systems
mm,
in other places are so 10,000 years in advance with what's
mm,
here in the United States because of the allowing of just greedy corporations to have
yeah,
more influence than the people's needs. It's just,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And I'm hoping that this really hard time we're going through
yeah,
will lead to a new way of being where
yeah,
we stop this and
absolutely, yeah, yeah,
because there's just the wealth hoarding by just the one percenters is
mm.
devastating the country. We're the richest country in the world, and it's just terrible.
Well,
Mhm.
ups and downs, right? Yeah. In the I Ching studies, we have this thing called the elemental phase, meaning that, when we look at everyone's I Ching chart, there is a 10-year change in everyone's chart. So of course, every year you have the so-called annual phase, but we also have the elemental phase, which changes once every 10 years. And so there's a very interesting Chinese saying. We say 10 years west of the river, 10 years east of the river, meaning that, well, sometimes you go high, well, the next 10 years you go low, and someone else will go high. And then 10 years later, then you'll go high again and they will go low. So it's kind of like that kind of very interesting flow, right, of life. Sometimes you're higher, sometimes I'm lower, but then the next 10 years I'm coming up, right? And it's your turn to take a rest. So it's a little
Yeah,
bit like
well,
that. Mm.
we're definitely on a downswing right now, but we'll be back.
Um,
It's
yeah,
a faith.
yeah.
Just absolutely wonderful times in the U.S.
Yeah, yeah. Especially with the globalization, every country
Mhm.
I think there should be more collaboration, right? Should be more harmony rather than, again, Aries war, right? Either it's you or me, and then let's see
Yeah.
who lives, who dies, right? I really don't believe in that at the end of the day. And I think, as astrologers, right, we always look at life, or we always look at the world from a different perspective. See, I don't see our world as country versus country. I see we're all living on this small blue planet, floating in
Mhm.
like a dust in the middle of the nowhere. And we are so tiny that we are fighting each other and thinking this land is mine, that land is yours. Who cares? At the end of the day, you're just a dust floating in the middle of the nowhere. And probably aliens are watching over us from some other planet, thinking this is stupid, like
Yeah.
stupid people, right, fighting each other. It's like we're watching two little kids fighting over an apple. So
Mhm.
I think a lot of the times, when we talked about Leo, energy Jupiter in Leo, right, the inflated ego, I think it's all about that. So I guess we will see how the energy pans out this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think I have been saying this is
yeah.
not a time to move into with fear, but courage and think
Mm,
about what do you want to accomplish?
yeah,
How can you stay on track?
mm,
And like using the moon cycles is one of
yeah.
the best ways to do so.
Mm.
Yeah. So
So
I highly.
Yeah, so by the way, so for all the subscribers and followers, we have if you follow Celeste on her Instagram, and Celeste talks a lot about the moon cycles, right? From the new moon to the full moon and back to new moon. I actually just watched the one of your stories maybe yesterday. I think you talked about that, right? I've watched it, yeah. So and I
Oh, yeah.
also yeah, also personally I do my new moon journal every month. Every new moon, I have a little bit simple ritual that I do just in my own space. Maybe light a candle. Sometimes I use water. I use salt. And I really think it's a very personal thing. Yeah. I think 2 weeks ago, I published an article contributed to in the media talking about the rituals that we can do each month. I truly believe it's important. Yeah. Do you do any rituals yourself?
Yeah, I really like and
Mm,
always to take
mm,
some time to think about what this new moon, think
mm,
about the sign, what house it's in. My
mm,
favorite ritual is to light a candle
mm.
and pull a few oracle cards and
Cards, yeah,
journal.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Right. So I really think or like rituals is a very personal thing, right? And so a lot of people ask me, okay, what's the right ritual to do? Do I put it on the left side or do I put it on the right side? Things like that. And I always tell them that that doesn't matter. The most important thing is you're connecting yourself with the higher realm. Yeah. Whether you put your candles left or right, that doesn't really matter to you. As long as you
Mhm.
feel you're connected, you feel in peace. Yeah. So that's also my suggestions to all of you guys who are watching this chat between me and Celeste. Um, and I think finally, Celeste, do you have any just to wrap things up, any important messages for all of us who are maybe some of us a little bit nervous about 2026, some of us are more positive or are more looking forward to it. What's your suggestion to all of us?
Yeah, it's just it is, we are watching one of the greatest stories ever told, and we are in a time where there's a lot of change. And can you witness it with and try to be a force for good is what I would say.
Mm, mm,
Can you think about not just maybe standing on the sidelines? How can
mm,
you make a difference in the world that's better? Whether it is through your job, if you're a teacher teaching children, you are contributing to making the world a better place. Whatever you do, can you donate to charities that are meaningful to you?
mm,
Just think
mm,
about what is your contribution and make some kind of contribution. I also think that community at this time is so important to be connected to community. And if I have a guide, if people are interested, you can go to astrologybyceleste.com. That'll help you work with the moon cycles through the new first quarter, full, and last quarter moons, so that as you see things coming up, you'll be able to connect them. It'll help you stay on track as well. So I would
absolutely.
say
Yeah.
let's say that. It's
Great.
called
Yeah.
the 2026 Lunar Planning
In a
Journal.
planning journal. Awesome. Yeah. So I will put your website in the video description. And for all of you guys who want to have a consultation with Celeste, right, or want to follow her on her Instagram, you can, go to those links, right? And yeah, and sometimes, as astrologers, our mission in life is to know how we can contribute the best for you guys, right? And because I mean, at the end of the day, we're also just human beings. We're also learning how to become a part of the universe in a better way, right? For all of us. So check our channels, check our website. If you have any questions, just feel free to comment in the video description. And yeah, that's it. And thank you so much, Celeste, for joining this chat. And always a pleasure to talk to you. Always so enlightening.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been a great conversation. I'm so glad I got a chance to learn more about the fire horse.
Yeah.
And, ooh, yeah, it really speaks to what's coming up this year. So let's saddle up and we're on the road ready to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah. And I wish everybody who's watching a fantastic new year, the year of the fire horse 2026. Bye.